It's called Measure A, and it's one of the many items you'll decide on when you vote next month. Supporters say the tax hike will improve public transportation, but some teachers say they don't like it.
NBC7's Liberty Zabala is outside the Sandag building right now with more from both sides. Liberty.
Well, Greg and Megan, you could see your taxes go up by ½ a cent if this ballot measure passes. And a group of teachers were outside this building protesting against it, giving it a grade of an F because they say it doesn't do enough for students or the environment.
We're standing with our environmental allies because Measure A is deeply inadequate.
Teachers here say the measure will increase sprawl and keep more cars on the road instead of getting them off the road. They also worry this will increase pollution and damage the environment. But Sandag expects the measure to allocate funds to add more transit lines and create jobs.
Spent over 2 years listening to the public, and what we heard from them is that they want our potholes filled, they want our roads repaired, they want our open space protected. They want to have more choices when getting from A to B, specifically more public transit, more biking, and more walking. And that's what's in this measure.
Now, if this measure does pass, work on more than a dozen highway and freeway projects could be complete within the next 15 years. For now, live in downtown, Liberty Zabala, NBC7.
Next month, you're going to get a chance to vote on a sales tax hike that could cost your family as much as $100 a year. Measure A would fund transportation and road improvements. 10 News reporter Jared Aarons is downtown where protesters gathered this morning. And Jared, their opposition has nothing to do with money.
No, it doesn't, Virginia. In fact, they don't mind the sales tax. They just don't like where that money would go. They want the money to go towards things like this, trolleys and buses, public transportation. Spend more on that, they say, and less on streets and roads and freeways. The group was a couple dozen environmentalists and teachers gathered today in front of the Sandag offices. They gave Measure A an F because it doesn't address climate change, they say. They think that more freeways leads to more traffic, which leads to more pollution, which can be a health hazard.
We look at this as kind of a no that means yes. That if we reject this deeply inadequate plan, we can go back to the drawing board and really create perhaps another measure, that will address the needs of the 21st century.
I also spoke with Councilmember Todd Gloria. He helped write Measure A, and he told me the way it's written right now, 42% of the money in Measure A would go to public transportation and only 14% to freeways. He also said that if it passes, it could wind up saving San Diegans money in the long run. I'll explain why in 30 minutes. Downtown, Jared Aarons, 10 News.
Next month, you're going to get to decide on the future of transportation here in San Diego. Measure A would raise the sales tax to fund transportation and road improvements. 10 News reporter Jared Aarons downtown now with a look at how much a ½ cent increase in sales tax would mean to your wallet.
How much Measure A costs depends on who you ask. Some opponents say it could be as much as $100 per person per year. Supporters say it's really only about a dime a day, and it will actually save you money in the long run.
What we know is the cost of the status quo is pretty darn expensive to San Diego families. We recently had an independent group come to San Diego and look at what the cost of traffic congestion and the poor condition of our roads cost the average San Diego family. $1,900 a year.
Money aside, a group of teachers gathered downtown to give the proposal an F on Friday. They say it doesn't address climate change enough and would cause health problems for kids by adding traffic and pollution. They want the county to start over and come up with a new plan.
We look at this as kind of a no that means yes. That if we reject this deeply inadequate plan, we can go back to the drawing board and really create perhaps another measure, that will address the needs of the 21st century.
If approved, Measure A would add a ½ cent sales tax for the next 40 years. Downtown, Jared Aarons, 10 News.
San Diego County teachers are giving ballot Measure A what they're calling a failing report card. Measure A calls for raising the county sales tax by ½ cent, raising $308 million annually to pay for infrastructure. This morning, teachers gathered outside of a San Diego board meeting to issue their report card. They argue if passed, Measure A will accelerate climate change and make our children sick.
We feel that our interests are inextricably bound with the interests of the communities we serve, And the two central flaws of Measure A are, first and foremost from our perspective, that it does nothing to adequately address climate change for the next several decades. And it's also deeply inadequate with regard to meeting the transit and infrastructure needs of the 21st century.
Now, Sandag says it needs the cash to repair roads and bridges, relieve congestion, improve our services, and reduce polluted runoff. Measure A must receive a simple majority of votes to pass. Voters will weigh in on November 8th, of course.